Hi, I am Dr. Elizabeth Samantha Rothschild Judge on the ins and outs of it. First, let me start by saying when I was in Austin, Texas from 2014 to 2017, because of the fascism, I could not stay in the shelter, so I took to the streets. And that turned into a domestic deployment. You've heard of our troops here in America, our militia being deployed overseas into various places. So when I hit the streets, after a certain length of time, it turned into a domestic deployment, meaning being deployed to the streets here on our homeland. And being a 19-star general and autonomous in all of my duties, it was basically converted or transited into an assignment for me. So here I am. I've been in Denver, Colorado since April 2nd, 2022. And most recently, for the same reasons, fascism, I've had to take to the streets. And I'm hoping that this does not have to turn into a domestic deployment. Although when I was in Austin, Texas, we covered a lot, got a lot done, housed all the homeless veterans, and took down some rings, prostitution rings, drug trafficking rings. So I'm hoping that everything is stellar and thriller here, that I would not have to transition into a domestic deployment. But the problem is the fascism. Now, back in 1991, where I graduated a year earlier than my class, I was born in 1974, so for public school I would have been graduating in 1992, but I graduated in 1991. The public school systems instituted the exit exam. Each state had its own criteria for the exit exam because for so many years persons were graduating from school without meeting the criteria, but they were given a pass and a diploma. So those persons who didn't fit the criteria, just because they had a diploma, they were able to get jobs. Needless to say, they were inadequate for those positions. The exit exam is designed to eliminate fascism, so that persons graduating with any sort of diploma have to live up to that standard. They have to meet a certain criteria. And so this day and age, because of the persons before then who were graduating prior to the year 1991, were not required to pass the test to meet any specific criteria. Some of these persons were not fulfilling the actual educational requirements and are inadequate to hold jobs. However, that's the populace of persons that have jobs nowadays. So we have a lot of fascism going on in various workplaces, and it's really affecting the homeless network, whereby persons need assistance, but the people in positions to assist are fascists. And not only are they inadequate and underqualified for their positions, they keep these positions and basically put the employers in a bad situation by not having adequate staff to fulfill the missions, goals, and objectives of their organizations. And these fascists, they're the ones who are receiving the applications when someone new applies and, of course, not letting them in. They're the ones who are saying who can stay where when they have no idea what the real need is or how to meet the need. The only thing they want to do is put money in their pockets so they can live. Speaking of which, they're barely living for the cost of living standards. But this is America, the United States of America. My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. So the fascism doesn't go very far. It's acute. The the fascism is an acute problem, which means it combusts, and when something happens, the damage is done. Although it can be later rectified, the interim damage is done. So, dealing with the fascism, I've taken to the streets in Denver, Colorado, which I would have to do anywhere I would be. And so just thinking about how all of this affects anything, the housing crisis, how it affects the opioid crisis. Persons would like to be inside of the shelter. I've seen where people are coming clean or been sober for a certain length of time, and then because they can't go into the shelter because of fascism, and they're not getting the help they need to remain sober through the network, and they are exited or for some reason told to leave, and now they're exposed to that environment. And what can they do when they're in that environment and they've tried to steer clear to maintain sobriety? As for me, it's just a matter of comfort. I mean, I don't like being out in the rain, the snow, the extreme heat. Camping out, of course, it's not permissible to just set up camp and live. I mean, because, you can't just live that way. But for me, it's the inconvenience. I don't have any pressing issues that I need to get away from environmentally. However, the fascism, how does it affect? Well, I'm educated, 99 PhD, 60 medical doctorate as well, 19-star general, I'm a cardinal in the church, I'm a pastor, I'm a business owner. It's a seller's market. I can't find a place to buy for commercial property or residential. And when I go into a place and persons are fascists, meaning they want to lord their positions over my education. They want to lord their positions over my rank in the church. They want to lord their entry-level positions over my executive position within my company. And well, they've got the positions, the rights of premise, and until someone does something about it in these organizations, until they're fed up with their organizations being torn down at the entry level and middle line manager positions, then it'll go on. So that's what we're looking at and dealing with. But all in all, if it does turn into a domestic deployment, my consolation is that I am autonomous in everything I do. If I decide to move around, where I move around to is where I move around to, and my assignment is wherever I am and whatever I make of it. Just put in my reports. So that's what's going on, and that's what we're dealing with. Thank you all for listening. Have a great day.